Okay, so what do we have here today? It looks like a Porsche Carrera 991. This is the Carrera S, a 2012 model with very low mileage, only 55,000 kilometers, and a beautiful silver, a gray metallic. So let's check it out a little closer. We have the key, there we go. These keys were introduced with the new 991 range in 2012. Fully electronic key. It's shaped in the shape of a Porsche. There we go. And of course you have your Porsche logo up front. You have your lock and unlock button. And then of course you have an opener for the boot. So a very simple key. And then of course you also have you can change the battery in the back. And then of course if you need to, he's got a manual key as well to open it if the electronics fail. So let's check it out a little bit closer. So let's open it up. We've pushed the unlock button. There we go. So let's move around. And let's open her up. These door handles are quite traditional on the 997. Also on the Boxster. They've seemed to have used them on all of those Porsches. And has now come through to the 991 as well. On the 997 they had the manual key down below. On this one they don't have. So let's it just locked itself again. So let's just open up. There we go. Full leather interior, but it's the standard leather interior. There's nothing fancy in here. So let's get in and let's check out the interior briefly. Very traditional 911. There's nothing different in this particular car. It's the Carrera S, as I mentioned earlier. Let's just close the door. One of the things I don't like is the radio always comes on in Porsches, even though you haven't switched it on yourself. So let's switch that off. And let's start up and we'll go through the various options in the car. There we go, traditional 911 sound. It doesn't have the sports exhaust, but let's just go through it. Traditional dashboard, there we go. The gauge cluster, very traditional 911. And then of course we got the air vents left, and then two in the center, there we go, and then one on the far right. So very traditional. And then of course you have your the chronometer package, and then of course when we come down we have the central infotainment system. And this particular 911 only has the radio, and it doesn't have sat nav or any of the other options. So it's a touch screen. You can control the radio from the touch screen, and you can also control your climate control from the screen. And then of course you also have your manual controls for both your radio and your climate control. Then you have your PDK selector. All the 911s have the same PDK selector, starting from 2012. Very simple. You've got your automatic options, park, reverse, drive, etc. And then you've got your manual options. You've got to put it into drive, and then you can select it. Those are your manual options, so you can drive it manually. You can either use the selector, or you can use the paddles on the steering, left and right. There we go. So that's the PDK selector. And then when we move down, just to remind you, you're driving a Porsche Carrera. And then as we move further down, remember the Carrera, the badge we just spoke about, you have your hazard lights, you have your lock button for your doors left and right. And then on these Porsches, you have options you've got to choose when you buy. And on this particular car, the owner that bought this car, he only took the radio and climate control system for the infotainment. And that applies obviously to all of the other options. Porsche has multiple options you can choose, and obviously that adds on to the price. So let's just go through some of these options we have here. We have the Sport, which is a standard option, and then the Sport Plus was added. That just gives you a lot more power. Then the Sports suspension, that's standard. This is the traction control standard. You can switch it on and off. And then of course the rear spoiler, you can put it up manually, that's also standard. And then the on and off for the engine. In other words, when you stop, it goes on and off. All of these modern cars are now got that option. So that's also standard. So that is the challenge you have when buying a 911. Everything you want to have in it, the extra luxury options, all comes at a cost. So we've looked at the dashboard, and similarly the car has the leather package, but it's the standard leather package, nothing fancy, with a grey stitching. A lot of the 911s you're able to have the logo embossed on the top of the seat. That's not the case with this particular one. It's got the standard door panels, there we go, the grey stitching. You have your standard storage areas, there we go, and another one up front. Then the standard door handles, nothing fancy. In the GT3 you can have the toggles, the material toggles, but that is an extra. And this finish on the 911 is also standard, the aluminium finish, polished aluminium. So this is a very standard car overall. Doesn't have a sunroof option, it's just got the Alcantara, and then it's got the standard, obviously the original and standard gauge cluster. As you know, it's the rev counter, the speedometer, the oil pressures, all of the options that all of the driving options you have on the digital screen. Other words, your trip computer, etc., all is housed on that particular screen. And then of course you have your temperature gauges and your fuel gauge. So very traditional. And then when you come to the steering, the PDK is included. In other words, the manual drive options are controlled on the steering, left and then right. And then of course all of your controls on the steering for your infotainment, telephone, etc. Then even though there is a telephone on here, it doesn't have a telephone option on the infotainment system. In other words, it's not included in there. And then of course you have your logo, your Porsche logo in the center, and your hooter. And then you have the sports steering, which seems to be included into this car. It obviously was an option which was selected. So there we go. That is the Carrera S. So what I'm going to do now is let's reverse the 911. Let's put it into reverse. There we go. I'll just do it again, into reverse, and there you can see it's got the reverse camera, but it doesn't actually have a camera itself. It's only got the warning. In other words, when you get closer to a wall, etc., it will warn you with a beeping sound. So let's move her and let's put her into a position so we can look at the car from front to back. Power steering. As you know, the 911s, all the manual steerings are now gone. All the 991 range now have the electric steering, and then of course the electric parking brake as well. A lot of purists don't like that, but I don't have a problem on my 911. I have all of the new options and I enjoy it. I also have it on the Boxster, and I have no problem with the PDK and the manual option on the PDK. And then of course the power steering or the electric steering is perfect for me. And then of course the handbrake, no, it's not a real issue for me as well. So there we go. I've put it into park. So let's just hop out. I'll leave it running. So let's pop out, and what I'll do is I'll open the front boot. There we go. And let's just go and have a look at the front boot. Thereafter we can look at the engine and check that out. Okay, so here we are at the front boot. As you know, the engine in the 911 is in the rear. So you have quite a large front boot. So let's just open her up. There we go. That's the traditional 991 front boot. It's quite large. You can probably carry 2 carry-on bags in here, the soft bags, 1 and 2. Or you could have 2 hard carry-on bags. also 1 and 2. So relatively large considering it is a sports car. And all the 991s, all the 911s have the same design. And on the left-hand side, you have your emergency kit with your pump and the glue for the tires should you have a puncture. And then, of course, you also have a medical kit. And that's about it. Beautifully covered in Vela carpet. And then, of course, you have your filler cap or your reservoir for your brake fluid, and then you have your reservoir filler for your windscreen. And that's about it. That's everything in the front boot. So let's close it up. There we go. And let's have a look at the business side of the 911. And as of 2012, you can't really see the engine anymore. So let's just come around and open it up. There we go. So there's not a lot to see. As of 2012, they've basically closed the engine up, and all you have is you have your water replenishment cap. You've got your oil replenishment if needed. You've got your 2 fans to draw cool air into the engine, and that's about it. That's all you can see of the engine. And you've got the small little engine cap, which is basically includes the spoiler at the back, and that's about it. So let's go back round and let's have a look at the side profile of the Carrera S. Okay, so let's have a look at the design of the 991 and then the side profile. And the 991 was the first Porsche to come out as a complete aluminium bodied 911. So everything is aluminium. The whole car is, all the body panels are now aluminium. And you will note that the car has got a lot wider than the 997 range. And then of course the whole front bumper has been redesigned, or the whole car has been redesigned actually, and it has become larger, complete aluminium body. Quite a good looking car, I've got to say, but it keeps the traditional 911 look. You've got your xenon lights with your LED driving lights, there we go. And then when we come around, you've got that traditional 911 silhouette, and we have the beautiful star mags on this particular 911. It was an option you could choose. The previous owner chose these mags, but not with the color logos in the center, the black and white logos, the red Porsche calipers with the steel brakes. No carbon ceramic brakes on this particular car. So, and that is the mag wheels. On this particular car, brand new Michelin Pilot Sports have been added, the 4S tires on front and back. So brand new tires on this car. And then the side profile traditionally includes the petrol cap, there we go. And then the side profile of the 911 hasn't changed, there you go. You can see that, a beautiful side profile. And then of course when we come around to the rear has changed completely. The lights have got a lot smaller, the rear taillights, LED taillights now. But on the 997 range, the lights were quite different to this. Now they are slim, beautiful taillights on the rear. There we go. And then of course we've got the Porsche logo on the 2012. It came out as a chrome Porsche logo with the Carrera S. And then of course on this particular Carrera S, we have the quad exhausts that comes out on the Carrera S and the Carrera 4S, the quad exhaust. So every S model gets this exhaust treatment. Beautiful design, got a great sound. This car doesn't have a sports exhaust, but it still sounds really good. So there we go. That is the rear. So the rear completely changed. body's completely changed, and then of course the front end has completely changed as well. It's got some real good looks. There we go, a fantastic silhouette on the Porsche 911 Carrera S. So there you go, that was an overview of the Porsche 911 Carrera S 2012, available here at Millstock Cars in Cape Town, South Africa at 1.1 million rand, very low mileage, only 55,000 Ks, a beautiful example of the Carrera S. So should you be interested in the spectacular Carrera S, I will leave a link below. And don't forget, if you liked our video, don't forget to give us a thumbs up, and please don't forget to subscribe.